in answer to Marin. Right at the start of spring season, we get the return of AP Cannon, but so many things went wrong that you couldn't necessarily say it was the fault of a single pick. It was an ideology change from KT, going for the 5 initiator comp that was led by Mata, and thus draft here will be intriguing, like you mentioned. Someone like Jarvan, who has been pretty core on both sides, might hit the ban list.
Well, Caitlyn is still on there for the Afrika Freaks, getting rid of Syndra as well. Zach taken away straight away from KT. I don't think we're going to see that one again after it debuted in the LCK last couple of days.
Now they banned Rumble on red side in game 1. Did KT not wanting that to be first picked by Marin, so we'll ban it again.
Even with the adaptive helm available.
You could argue they may leave open the cannon. That's a possibility, given that it misfired so heavily in game 2.
May just adjust these second round picks as well.
There you go. Speaking of adjustments, Orianna banned away from Pawn. He's played 4 games, and 3 of them did not look strong. So the one champion he performed on, Orianna, is going to be respect banned.
Yeah, it was banned in game number 1 as well, but in the second round, of course. So KT making sure that they spend as much time as they can thinking about this. 5 seconds to go, still no third ban to come in, and Thresh is going to be taken away on KT's side.
Happy to give over the Elise. I thought Elise might take the ban there because they weren't going to be as concerned with the cannon, but they go for the Thresh ban as a higher priority. That is surprising to me. Elise looked very strong in the hands of Spirit in game 1.
Definitely picking up an MVP for himself as well. KT now going to take away the Zyra for themselves, and the Galio that has slipped through is going to be picked up by Score. We'll see whether it's going to be Pawn or Smev that's going to be playing that one.
We have already seen Smev play 1 game of Galio this season, was on the losing side in their first series. I'm sure Pawn can do his best Kuro impression, go tank Galio mid, but we'll need more information to find out. On red side, they will have access to the final pick, so could potentially flex this Galio around any role except for support.
That is
That's
true.
where the Zyra will be.
I think it was against Jarvan both games as well that Smev was struggling against Longzhu.
Kramer going to be jumping on the Ashe that we have complimented on, called him Prey-esque so far in his Ashe arrow accuracy.
Ashe, in fact, 100% win rate so far this series, and Varus has been left wanting just a little bit. Both of these AD carries, 100% pick rate this particular match.
So does a team ban Jarvan in the second round, I think is the other takeaway, as that has been the other only winning champion so far in this draft.
Yeah.
In this series, sorry, I should say.
I would like it, personally. Already Afrika have set themselves up a pretty solid pick composition, though, just with that classic Elise into the Ashe situation. A lot of chain CC.
KT certainly have pick tools of their own, so teams seem to be sharing identities like they did in game 2.
Yeah. But dangerous now for KT, because Score not picking up his jungler means that Lee Sin will be banned away. Lee Sin was wanting a little bit in game number 1, so probably not too worried, but the Olaf may see the bench as well, and that jungle pool will be getting relatively thin.
They actually choose to ban Graves instead, even though the Graves has been not a strong pick so far in this series, in this meta, and Score is one of the best jungle Gragas's in the world, so just like Ambition taking into the jungle a couple of days ago, this could very much be a jungle Gragas from KT.
I would like it.
But it's another flex. We're flexing still. Yeah,
well, I'm recording the picks, right, Papa Smithy, and there's a lot of open boxes that I can't exactly write down just yet, as Kassadin is being at least hovered for the moment.
It's a big pick for Kuro in solo queue. He is going to pick it, and it is, you know, it's not a blind pick, but it's close to a blind pick from the side of Afrika Freaks, given that we don't have confirmation. The idea is that it can lane against Galio just fine, will be hilariously shoved in, but can lane against it. And so far, nothing really shows them that much pressure onto a Kassadin so far in the draft. So blind pick Kassadin in the best of 1 to take all the marbles. And speaking of blind picks,
Marin. He's got a lot of options that he can go to. The Cannon, the Fiora,
he goes
both of them, and there it is. So the gauntlet certainly being thrown, and a big smile on Marin's face. You saw it flash just before we went over to Score.
And let's try and make sense of where these picks are going. Galio, Gragas. My first instinct is jungle Gragas.
Maybe we just see Smev pick up a Renekton or something like that. Take it to the top lane, but Cannon will still be available. Oh, and Smeb maybe wanting to answer this one and is going to lock that one in. So Pawn going to be taking the Galio into the mid lane. And it's going to be Smeb on his coveted cannon. Very different from what we saw from Smeb in his massive amount of highlight reels with the AP cannon. But he can certainly play the on-hit cannon as well.
We just had an AP cannon in game 2, so Smeb loves to pack fire with his old friend Marin. Skill matchup in the top lane. Always a bit of swagger between Smeb and Marin. Once again, the 2015 World Finalists and very good friends on and off the Rift.
Yeah.
There's always something about the top lane matchup between these two teams, and with the champion selected, there's going to be a lot of fireworks there, Atlas.
Yeah, I absolutely love this draft. Actually, from both sides, a lot of mind games going on. I mean, that Karma could have been flexed throughout this entire draft, but so many flexes on the side of KT.
And it's kind of reminiscent of the draft Longzhu pulled off earlier this week, the all-in draft where, yep, get Fiora through lane, get Kassadin through lane, 1-3-1 will be terrifying on the side of a Freak of Freaks, but early game, very swingy matchups where the natural pressure advantage is to the side of KT Rolster. That's going to have to be, once again, a big performance from Spirit, channeling his Game 1 performance to help his risky laners get through that laning.
It will need to be a massive bounce back. Of course, if you look back to the Longzhu series, that was augmented by a Zac helping these massive late-game carry threats get through the phase. But can Spirit have that performance once again? Can KT's interesting composition work their way through as well? We'll see as we hop onto the Rift. Ooh, Afrika fans certainly letting their voices be heard. As we move into game number 3 and on to the Rift.
We're going for a walk,
Yeah.
suspiciously.
Interesting.
Probably just scoping out. Don't know why Marin couldn't be going there. But Marin can jump over walls with his Q, so there's the potential that perhaps it's about getting an early ward out.
Pawn always goes for the weird skins. It's the first time I've actually seen that one.
I didn't catch it.
It's the Freezy one.
Oh, the Freezy one.
Yeah, the Freezy one.
That's the name in the shop?
It certainly isn't, but it came out on release with Galio, and it's been a long time since I've used it.
Not Hextech Galio, or Commando Galio.
Oh, Commando actually looks super awesome.
It does in the rework, right?
Yeah, rework Commando Galio is so cool. Old Commando Galio was just Galio in a green shirt.
It was. We've come a long way, haven't we?
We certainly have.
And this is intriguing. So Kuro wants to lane against the cannon in the top lane.
Interesting.
We're role swapping, baby.
This is some old TSM strats, you know, with Reginald just saying, no, I'm sitting on the top.
That means mid lane Fiora against Galio. He's getting a free lane on someone, and they actually choose it to be the Fiora. Interesting.
Okay. Takes as long as he can
and
before
that's where
he shows.
Pawn pings on and is like, what is this crap?
This is a disaster. I chose a Doran's ring for some silly reason. Well, Winds of War still answer the trade quite nicely, and this is still going to be a rough time.
Oh, it's going to be terrible time for the Kassadin.
Yeah.
It is an AD cannon, no runes providing AP, so this is going to suck.
Oh.
This reminds me of when the original SKT, Eat Sleep Game, Reaper's team, used to roll swap their mid laner everywhere that Reaper didn't want to be.
I like it.
And yeah, this is going to be painful for Kuro. But meanwhile,
it's going to be painful for Score as well. He's taking blue buff damage as well. Spirit gets the smite. Score at least survives with his life. But Spirit's so incredibly healthy, so happy here in the jungle as the Elise. Doesn't get first blood, but gets total control.
And that was takeaway, right? You have to remember, he went red to enemy blue was his route through the jungle. Had smite up to steal it away. Both of them had smite, but fail smite there. Invader's advantage always seems to come through in these scenarios. So KT get role swapped on, or at least lane swapped on, I guess you would call it, at the same time as they lose a buff in the mid lane. So this early game's gone about as different as possible compared to game 2.
Yeah. Justice Punch. Pawn clears out this minion wave nicely, but Marin finds the weak spot of this Galio, who just walks so funny when he starts walking. So the more stutter stepping you do on Galio, the more fun you're going to have. There's a bit of a tip for Galio players. If you want to enjoy your time, no matter what matchup you're in, start and stop walking a lot. Pawn. Oh, there's the flash cocoon. Immediately, flash answered by Pawn. Intelligent. Keeps himself alive.
Got the ward.
Still wants it, yeah.
Not big enough damage.
The merry walk. Look at him go. Trudging. He's going to go back home.
Triumphantly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Quadra teleports in this game, so the punishment of being forced out of lane is lower. Galio mid lane, of course, also has easy access for the heroic entrance to basically make it most of the way top and bot lane.
Yep.
So we'll still have a global impact very shortly.
Oh, we now have the confusing task, Papa Smithy, of, if you remember back in the old days of your commentary, of having to cast when the lanes aren't matched up on the bottom of your screen just there. So
I mean, we have lane swaps quite a lot, so you usually have two people that aren't
that's
visually
true.
disparate.
But at least both of them are in the lane swap scenario, you know?
We do not often see the solo lane swap.
True.
Because it's still a lane swap. It's not really a role swap. It's more of a lane swap.
I think it's very cute. Fusen completely out of mana, taking a fair bit of damage here from Mata as well, but Mata down quite low despite his mana bar being a little bit better. We'll see where the Pawn decides to go for the put a ring on it and grab a shield build.
Well, we can see how many CS Kuro exits laning phase with, because it's probably not going to be a Rod of Ages game. Probably going to have to be the Hextech GLP game here for the Kassadin.
Yeah, if he can even make it there. Currently struggling a lot to get any farm whatsoever, even underneath this turret where Smeb has relegated him to.
I mean, this is a lot put into getting Marin a super comfortable laning phase after the cannon was chosen to try and take down Fiora. He will just be teleporting top, so they're not going to be ending the swap.
Nice position for the lane, though. Kuro is going to try and keep it here for as long as possible. Smeb going to have a far better buy as he goes back with double the farm of the Kassadin.
Oh, Fiora in a short lane is seen sometimes in solo queue, very rarely seen in professional play. One of the disadvantages here that Marin has to deal with is that against a Galio, a lot of kill pressure. If you think about it, one of the traditional counter picks we always talked about, even as recently as MSI, was Fiora into the Galio. Fiora has big kill pressure on a Galio because of the true damage and the grand challenge. And in a long lane, if Galio tries to push up, get one more minion wave, you do have the space to actually chase down and kill a Galio. It's still a task, given that he's very tanky. In a short lane like mid, much harder to actually complete that chase down. So while the farming will be strong, the solo kill pressure, I think, will be almost entirely absent.
Yeah, be a different story. See Smeb heads back, building towards his Blade of the Ruined King as item number 1, confirming exactly what you said earlier on, Papa Smithy, of that on-hit build being the most likely option.
Just trying to threaten the top lane. Cannon was so far pushed in. There is no wards from either side. On the top side of the map, just the one that Marin placed a moment ago.
Pawn going to get the pretty aggressive boop onto Marin with his passive.
Marin just harassed with his W. That's interesting.
Justice League punching. Misses 2 abilities and then at least hits the auto attack. Smeb, he's going to roam his way down. He's at half health, has to contend with 2 members of the Afrika Freaks. Immediate lightning surge comes in, but there's the heroic entrance. Pawn gets the double knockup. Marin has to be very careful. Repel immediately activated, and Pawn wants this last auto attack. Good cocoon from Spiritus Smeb. He might be the one going down for first blood, but Lightning Rush once again gets himself out of trouble. Mata, of course, with the roam. It's going to get his way over. The Grasping Roots land, but not after the lunge. Gets Marin to safety. And oh my god, I can't believe no one died.
KT invested more members, so you'd have to say they lost out on pressure at least with this particular play. Might have auto-attack, the plan got knocked back. Don't know if that was his original intent, but it was after all the kills we're going to be moved away from. I felt like KT could have gotten more just because Smeb's first thought was to flash away, even though the heroic entrance was just about to be completed. His scores mid lane.
Yep, there's the Justice Punch, the flash, there's the taunt, and that's going to be an easy kill. Score showing his mastery on the jungle Gragas.
Continued to stay up there. They didn't have any ward coverage in that area. All their wards were more aggressive or on the blue buff. Nice pathing there from KT. Pre-6 surprising the Fiora. This innovative lane swap isn't really getting them as much as they'd want, although credit to Kuro, he's still only staying around 20 CS behind.
Yeah, it's nicely done. And you can see bottom lane, in fact, Kramer, 20 CS in the lead. We haven't been looking at the bottom lane just with how interesting everything else has been. KT have been shoved underneath this turret. Of course, Deft missing out on a lot just because Mata was on that roaming mission, as he is wont to do. More in the past, actually, than recently.
Just to disseminate what we saw with the lane swap, theory here is that on-hit cannon does super well against Fiora. Ironically, long time ago when it was original Fiora and AP Cannon, Fiora was actually a really good matchup into Cannon at the time. But while she can do well against AP Cannon, she has a lot of trouble against AD Cannon, so it's just the priority being passed over to Marin, and Kuro just having to pick up the pieces. You know, stay as competitive as possible. His laning phase is a lot easier now that he's level 7 in terms of staying alive. But getting a considerable amount of farm is still going to be a struggle.
Yeah, it's a worrying time here for him. Quan has built himself the Ninja Tabi though, so well and truly building towards his current lane matchup. We'll see whether, you know, once something like Glacial Shroud comes in, whether Kuro says, well, that's enough of an itemization advantage that I'll just move into this mid lane and try and capitalize, but not sure whether that'll even be able to draw that matchup into a semblance of something that's super fun. Oh, good flash to be gained by KT in trade for those that Corrupting Arrow.
On's here.
Yep.
Just trying to pressure.
Arrow gonna just be soaked here by Deft. No flash available, but it's just a little bit too far to walk.
Double TP available, so you see why the Ashe was used, but had to know that they're in close proximity. Speaking of TPs.
Yeah, they're actually just looking for the kill onto Smeb here. As that's going to be the stun. Slicing Maelstrom comes down. Marin was completely unseen. And teleport now in answer. Smeb has to be so careful. Grand Challenge comes in and Pawn completes the teleport. I think maybe just wanted that farm. He gets himself the taunt. Justice Punch is going to be riposted. Yeah, very well done. Avoiding so much of this damage is Marin, showing just how comfortable he is on this Fiora pickup.
Also seeing why Galio wants to get the heck out of this lane whenever possible. They are in a long lane, should only be temporarily. So push will come through.
And is Cannon going to go back to the mid lane? That would be a little bit of a shout out to, you know, the old Proly days.
And what this did do is it forced Pawn into Ninja Tabi, which don't give him any help against Casson. If he was just able to freely go into a Spirit Visage, an Adaptive Helm, and Abyssal Scepter, it will be even more Titanic against the Casson. And look, he still has a magic damage shield. He's still not going to be solo killing the Galio anytime soon, but could buy Akuro a little bit of latitude, as I guess we're just going to keep on the silly times.
We're just going to be confused about where these champions are going for the entirety of the game. And you can see Kuro's actually caught himself quite a far way back up. Solo lanes are still winning in farm for KT, but it's not too much of a big deal, no.
Now, it's not growing for another reason. He's access to level 6. You know, he's level 8 now, so
yep.
Can put himself into range to Q a minion and not die from the auto attacks of a cannon. Spirit's top lane. He's got boots of mobility.
Yep, Lightning Rush does come in. He needs to land this Cocoon, though. There's no flash available, and they get on top of him all too easy. Spirit grabs the kill. Kuro probably a little bit upset about that, but he's probably used to it by now.
Snowball laners, so you have the boots of mobility just to apply as much map threat as possible. Doesn't go for the boots that will help him in team fights. Knows that the champion picks will help out in the team fight phase, and Spirit was in the right spot at the right time, and it's helping that Cassidy inch towards a Rod of Ages, amazingly.
Yeah.
At 12 to 15 minutes, you'd have to imagine. Might even be done now.
Very, very close. The score, he's going to make his way in. There's the teleport in answer. Grand entrance. He's going to get Pawn down here, and look at the layering of CC. Mata, he will fall down. The heal, not enough to keep him alive. Good taunt onto Kuro, but gets himself out of there. And Marin, they've already picked up 2. Score in trouble. Marin going down low as Deft. He's been unanswered. The root comes in. The Winds of War, not enough to get the kill onto Kuro. And KT really want to try and find themselves a kill as Pawn gets himself through. There's the taunt. It lands onto Marin. He gets himself out. Oh my god, Spirit able to pick up one. Kuro so close to dead as Deft tanking up the turret. Spirit, he's going to be able to pick that kill up, and Tucson and Spirit get out with their lives. So many dead. As Pawn walks out, he's so tanky.
Seemed pretty unnecessary, though, for KT to actually fully commit to the dive. They got the advanced information that Spirit was going to be the last one into the 10-man rumble in the bot lane. So we start with the replay, teleport coming through from the Caston as the heroic entrance comes through. And KT, they lose Marta straight away. He actually just tanks the turret too long and dies. And the initial trades, they could have chosen to back away at any point. Afrika are trading up before their jungler is even there, but KT don't want to escape with their tail between their legs. They try to make something happen even though they have full information that Spirit is there. So much confidence shown. But first, Gragas tanks the turret for too long, and then Deft also takes turret aggro. So this is pretty woeful when it comes to play around the turrets, and that's why it ends up being a super unclean dive for KT Rolster.
Yeah, and Pawn actually thought he'd be able to get the instant double kill there, but Tucson with a fantastic mantra W. It's himself well and truly okay. Frozen Heart almost done here for Pawn, though, as a result.
Oh, Marin's found the top lane, finally.
Aha. Oh, yeah. Riposte.
Does have a lot of items, too.
Yeah, does find himself the stun. Good stuff. He's got loads of items. My God.
Well, he's against a 0-3-0 cannon, so...
Yeah, true.
He's at least doing the score, man. Solid. Now we can look at the lanes and kind of equate people.
Exactly. It all makes sense. Rod of Age is done for Kuro. Got through what he wanted to, and he's...
And Pawn has invested all of his gold in dealing with the Fiora, so that also is happy times for the cannon.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dear. So Frozen Heart is going to be done. Of course, is going to be a natural pickup, but probably wouldn't have been first. Deft going quite angrily onto Kramer. Blade of the Ruin King done for the Varus. 1, 1, and 2 now for Deft as the dust settles, but he's still behind in farm.
Game hasn't really been played around the duo laners. We did see a turret dive where they were involved, but apart from that, they have been tertiary to all the hijinks with Marin and Kuro swapping lanes.
Hey guys, think we've got another party to happen on the bottom side of the map? Nope.
Not yet.
Score going to head over to his blue buff, try and grab one of his first of the game, but it's the same idea that's being had by the Afrika Freaks as well.
Got this ward over, so they have the exact health value here.
Oh, Kuro blind, steals it away.
No, he had a ward. It wasn't blind. It was just casual.
Oh, really? I thought they killed the ward and then tried to take it. All right, never mind. Just casual.
Not 100% clear on that, but had a good enough eye in, and it was only actually a couple of points into the force pulse. It's been straight maxing Q, 3 points in, and Swagger walks away with a blue buff.
Oh, dear. Don't give a Kassadin any extra stuff, Papa Smithy. That is rule number 1.
It's really interesting how the early lane swap heaped pressure on the Kassadin, but the eventual swap back puts him in a really happy position, because now he's against someone who's built purely for the other members of his team.
Yeah.
A lot less pressure on Kuro. Now when Pawn tries to wave clear in his face, he takes a QE and actually takes, relevant damage, doesn't just ignore it. If he had an Adaptive Helm or a Spirit Visage.
Or any magic resist at all, he'd probably be much happier. KT, 4 members in the mid lane as Smeb still manning top lane outer turret.
And the best part of 4,000 gold has gone into armor on the side of Pawn.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Okay, still just getting some wards. This bottom side. We've got a dragon up in a minute. It's going to be Cloud Drake once again. My goodness, this whole series, it's like Ocean Cloud every single time. It's an overcast day on Summoner's Rift today.
A nice hot day in Seoul.
That is very true. You say nice, I probably wouldn't.
It's not awful. It could be worse.
It was actually started off wonderful today. We're talking about the weather, guys, because it's just a bunch of farming going on at the moment. But there's the grand challenge. Marin not able to use the riposte just there as Smeb throws down the Blade of the Ruin King for that extra movement speed. Heroic entrance, comes back down, good stun, but Pawn just here for the save. Most unnecessary as well.
Yeah, the first proc came through from the Grand Challenge earlier. Maybe there would have been kill potential, but heroic entrance, like you say, was probably largely unnecessary. Farm-wise, slight lead overall across the duos, so across the solos from KT, but just barely.
Yeah, there's a war coming in on a Kuro, but doesn't take very much damage at all.
Had to flash away when the threat of score came in.
Yeah. Okay,
who face checks who?
Yeah, well, Spirit, he's going to take a lot of damage. Forces the flash. Marta here. Very dangerous health pool as well as Deft turns up. Holds on to the Chains of Corruption, waiting for this siege.
Good vision advantage for KT. Nice time to make a rotation. It is just a Kassadin for wave clear.
Arrow flashed out of the way of, but Pawn's going to soak it. We do have the Stranglethorns, and Kuro getting Chain CC down. Tucson as well. He's been taunted up. Shielded Duran doing some work, but Kramer says, well, you guys can have fun in the mid lane. I'm going to do my best to try and take this outer turret down in the bottom lane. Oh, God, Deft taking so much damage, but Kuro, has he bitten off too much? No, he hasn't.
Not quite.
Oh, the turret's going to be able to pick up the kill onto Mata. Now Deft, the repel's
Marin
there. Spirit, he's going to be able to pick up that kill. Marin doesn't even get the assist, and it's all going wrong for KT.
Yeah, KT felt pressured to make the play in the mid lane. When we talked about the draft, Cassidy, Fiora, you know the rest. Scaling, and Snowball. KT thought they had the chance. They got the deep ward down, chunked out the Elise, and want to take a turret. No turret observed, but maybe an answering kill.
Oh, dear. Smeb actually calling this one off.
Everyone's
respecting
teleported.
Kuro. Okay, Kuro. Another aggressive Rift Walk. Smeb does stun him up. Justice Punch in, but not going to get the knockup.
Yeah, no kill pressure. Realistically, onto the Kassadin. Did draw out a teleport, that's why they had to back away. So TP for TP trade, all in all.
That score is hanging out down towards this bottom side as well, but you can see Deft understands that his top lane outer turret is most likely going to fall down. Actually, is that next minion wave going to arrive? It is, so that means Marin will be able to take that one, and Deft
Could be a trade.
going to go back mid.
Spirit has quietly, in all the craziness, gone 5-0-0
Yeah.
in this game as we see Fiora just about get first brick over KT.
Yeah.
That is even more solo gold to Marin, who's well on the way to his Ravenous Hydra.
Just gigantic. We'll go back now and we'll see whether it is going to be Ravenous Hydra completed as first item. Has been the trend for Fioras that we've seen thus far, and there it is.
By the Black Cleaver instead. Had so much gold he was sitting on, but...
Oh, Kindle Gem as well. Dream by Papa Smithy. Second turret is going to go down in favor of KT, so evening out that gold as much as they can. Only 2,000 the lead. This is a much closer match than either Game 1 or Game 2.
But the
still
disarray.
in favor of Freaka.
It was just disarray in the early game. You know, KT, understandably, completely flummoxed by the Fiora mid lane strategy of Freaka Freaks and Marin. But in the disarray, early boots of mobility Elise, which, you know, often accelerates your game one way or the other. If you go boots of mobility, fail ganks, you're just very, very squishy, ended up being much less than a ward, if anything else. But trusted himself to do his job. His job here, we mentioned Spirit, was to really help out the Snowball solo laners, and
yeah,
job done for Spirit. Now has the very early Leandri's Torment as well, and Kuro's in a lane against an armor stacker, so things have gone better than expected for a Freaka Freaks.
Certainly are. Pawn finally with a Negatron Cloak, but probably would have wanted that as his first item if he was laning against a Kassadin. Smeb still 0-3-0, but has some items building up. Drum's Fist possibly to go towards Frozen Mallet of some kind. We'll see what he decides to do. Could be a Sterix Gauge, who knows. Item has been changed just a little bit.
It's worse categorically onto a cannon, so would expect it to be the Frozen Mallet. Sterix Gauge not going to be built on the people that used to buy it. If you think about it, it was Gangplank and Graves, and neither of them are going to be picking it up anytime soon.
Yeah, a little bit sad.
It's now a Garen item, so we don't get to see it.
Ever. Is it a Yorick item?
Sure.
Good. Actually,
What's a Yorick?
I recently saw it. Like, I was just looking to see what people build on Yorick. I don't know why, but we are going to have Smeb starting off a fight. Marin, he's going to get knocked back. Score a little bit unfortunate on the ultimate. Nothing going to be gained from that one for KT.
Yeah, shorted it in many ways. Was flashed out of. No harm, no foul. It's KT. They want to keep pushing. We talked so much on what the type of comp Freaka Freaks is running. KT. But the 4-1 has been abandoned with how far back that Smeb has fallen. And pick up minions, but not much more. Looking for this Drake.
Bit of a pincer maneuver to come in, and Score's going to be able to lock down second dragon for KT. Freaka Freaks decide that they just want to concede, looking for that mid lane outer turret. Kramer dealing with the minion wave now, and we've got a back coming in from Smeb. He doesn't have the teleport. KT with 4 members here should be able to defend. Smeb not actually going to make it back home. Grand Challenge comes in. Marin really wants to get the chase. Wants the dive underneath here, but that's a little bit dangerous, even if the turret is very low.
And with Lifesteal, would need the full healing field early, didn't have it, and now comes the cavalry.
Yeah, Tucson, he's in a lot of trouble. The flash going to get him out of the way. Heroic entrance, a little bit of a anticlimactic entrance that time around.
Deft.
Oh, flashes. Repel not going to get Spirit in line with the Varus. Did also have the QSS.
This game's so exciting because as the big moves are happening, we're seeing similar collapses in other lanes while everyone's eyes are kind of on the mini-map or on other areas of the map. Balanced very finely. Freak of Freaks, with their scaling and the fact they're ahead in gold, are probably more ahead than perhaps even the scoreboard can show. But KT, we've seen these Galio cannon comps actually have pretty good combat mechanisms in team fights, just because if Deft can free hit, there is still an opportunity for KT to win a true 5v5.
I also absolutely love Zyra in the late game as well, so of course Karma, a lot of utility, but Zyra does so much damage, and with this composition that doesn't have a heck of a lot of magic damage, with Pawn being on that tank Galio in the mid lane, could be a situation where not a lot of magic resist is built, and Marta can run rampant.
And the issue is that Kassadin Rift walks in and kills her in one rotation.
Yeah, but she's already pressed the 4 buttons that are relevant.
That's true.
Yeah.
Is certainly someone who will struggle to do the first function of support, which is put down wards.
That is true.
You're
Certainly
right.
Can't safely do it.
That's going to be the side of KT. Only Score really is going to be able to put down wards, which may not be sufficient.
Well, everyone from KT is going to find Kuro. Immediate exhaust. There's the Grasping Roots as well. Stranglethorns, they want to lock him up. Nice flash into the Riftwalk there as well as Marin. He's been turned on. Grand challenge is there. Smeb does, of course, have the Lightning Rush, and he'll be safe. The taunt comes in for good measure, but a Freak of Freaks, they're looking for this Baron. Teleport is available from Smeb.
Down to 4,000. I don't know if they can do it fast enough.
Yep, Score's going to get in here. It's at least going to be a 50-50. Teleport comes down from Smeb. He's going to get into the pit.
He got it!
The steal for Score! Heroic entrance is going to get born in here as well, as KT want to turn this one into a fight as well. That could have been a massive error from the Afrika Freak. Smeb. Oh, is he going to get caught out? No Cocoon to land on the side of Spirit, and that is going to be Marta getting revenge on Kuro. Everything going wrong for Afrika, and that is the kind of decision that you often see KT making.
But they could have pulled off, Atlas, they could have pulled off at 5,000 health. We saw it going down slow. There was always going to be the potential for a contest at the speed they were finishing it. And even though he was actually lower level than Spirit when he came in, got in there, stole it away, and all the disarray caused in the bottom lane looked to be profited on the biggest possible way. And now it ends up being a win-win for KT Rolster.
Yeah, looking very, very good now. That's evened out the gold effectively. Only 500 in it. So we are going to have a look at this replay of how this Baron started up.
Shut out the Ash arrow. Let's track that one, see if it hit anyone. He actually hit Score to further delay him. So that's how slow this 3-man Baron was. That Score getting hit with what I have to assume was at least a 2-second duration Ash arrow. Starts to walk in. At this point, you pull off. Kassadin should not have been Rift walking in at the HP value he was at. Steel comes in, and it's just too early from Spirit, and that lets Score for once be the man on the happy end of a Baron 50-50. Kuro thought he'd get a recall off, and then found a Zyra.
Yep. Lands it all too easy. Doesn't even bother investing a Q. I like it. Meanwhile, the action still happening. Deft going down very low. Heroic entrance. The taunt's there onto Marin. Justice Punch beats him in the face, but he's still not dead. There's the flash, and Pawn locks it up. Now KT and Score. Marta moving forward. Nope, not going to find any more kills, but they've got one pick. Can they transition this into the inner turret? Of course, with a Baron buff. That should be a possibility, as inner turret on the bottom lane also falling. And
it's the pressure game that is now possible with the Baron buff. Playing around Pawn, his ability to chain into picks has been really big for KT Rolster. Kuro can Rift walk in, but he's only so strong. He doesn't want to get into melee range anytime soon with those Lichbane procs.
They're getting spread so thin on this side of the Afrika Freaks. 3 members down on the bottom side, but this mid lane inhibitor turret is going to fall. Deft and Marta will be able to take down this inhib unless anybody can come back and actually defend. KT just going to invest their resources into defending this. Deft takes that one down.
Teleport
now to move
super
over.
Deep from Marin. It might be too deep.
Yeah, it might be too deep as Spirit makes his way back. Look at the health bars. They're going low on the side of the Afrika Freaks. Can they even follow up? The tower falls down. Marin says, I think I can get in here, but look at Smeb. He gets the stuns. That's the taunt. And Kramer goes down. Now Marin said, oh maybe, guys, I thought you said the party was 8:30, but it seems to be started at 8. Oh, God!
This could be KT trying to end the game. Marin needs to buy some time, needs to grand challenge someone.
Yeah, well, Pont does not find the Shield of Durant taunt onto anyone.
Gets an exhaust out, so that's at least a good first lunge for the Fiora. Well, here's the turn.
There's the corruptions. They are going to turn back around. There's the heroic entrance just to make sure that Kuro couldn't jump on top of anyone. Marin still just skirting the outskirts of this fight. It's like he's not invited to the party at all, Papa Smithy.
KT looking for the finish. Still a long time on the recourse, but Kramer's just about to come back up.
Well, there's the boot, there's the taunt, and he's destroyed. Marin chooses his moment, but it's just not enough. Good redemption onto everyone. It's not quite enough. The Nexus going down extraordinarily low. Well, not quite yet, but it is certainly under threat as Spirit relegated to the fountain. That's going to be the game, and KT, despite the early game not exactly going in their favor, turn it all around with a score Baron steal.
And what a series to try to disseminate for both teams and both sets of fans, Atlas. A perfect game for the Afrika Freaks in Game 1. Suddenly feels like a few hours ago because KT came back strong in Game 2. Mata the match winner when he needed to be in that game. And then in the third game, it felt like Afrika, with their innovative lane swap with the two solo laners, had actually gotten to a spot where they had good lane assignments. They could 1-3-1. There wasn't a lot of good answers from the side of KT Rolster, but one bad call around Baron led to the end. This was very much Baron buff into game ending 5 to 6 minutes later. And you can see Afrika look very crestfallen because you can see the range in emotions you can have playing competitive League of Legends over the course of a 2.5-hour series.
Yeah, and you're also just not used to seeing the mental fortitude out of KT like they displayed in this particular series. There were ups and downs during the whole thing. The second game, being able to bounce back after a perfect game is very, very difficult. But also, in the middle of the game, KT always known as a team that comes out of the gate super strong. But that game, they were playing on the back foot the majority of the time, but they stayed in it. They kept going for these opportunities. And I mean, Score's Baron steal was unbelievable, but they were still able to tough it out until that point and make the right choice.
They weren't making further mistakes when they were behind. We've seen KT accelerate their own demise in previous games. Of course, in the first game, they didn't accelerate their own demise and lost, and so you could understand if they went super aggressive in this game. They tried to play control. They tried to play in touching distance with the Galio. You knew there were always the potential for team fights to come together, but they needed a little bit more oomph. I thought Afrika were the ones to have that with Fiora and Kassadin hitting their item spikes, but the Baron buff can be such a cruel mistress, and Afrika thought they had everything down to take it. They hit the Ash Arrow onto the Gragas, but they didn't really seem to check in with the Gragas positioning after the Ash Arrow registered. He got in, he stole it away, and that's why Marin looks the way he does, because it feels like KT nicked the final game after very much earning a spot to have the best of one.
Yeah, they most certainly did. And look at that, Smeb did a lot of damage. Of course, he's probably just smacking on whoever was around him, so it's going to be one of those things with the AD cannon, but you have to talk about Pawn. The Galio did a heck of a lot of work for this guy. He was very impressive, and in the whole last 2 games, he only died once. Pawn was honestly such a pivotal member of this team, and it's going to be Score that grabs the MVP. Of course, he stole the Baron. That is going to be what gives him that particular title. I thought that Pawn deserved it, personally.
And the pivotal moment, though, was the Baron steal, so you can understand the thought of the voters. Pawn's aggression. This was a nice wraparound from Score, though, after there was so much fighting you'll remember around the Raptor pit, the Herald pit, sorry. The turret dive from KT. I don't know if that deserves an MVP for anyone on the side of KT Rolster, as everyone decided to die to turrets.
Yep. And to Spirit when he turned back, when he actually joined the fight afterwards. I wonder whether we'll actually see that part of the battle.
This one raged for quite a while, but even in conception, you're like, okay, let's turret dive against Kassadin and Fiora. What could go wrong?
Do you want the list?
That was quite a bit. Scored the first pick, or at least attempted to, and then Pawn was the one actually cleaning it up. It was a very messy bot lane dive that seemed like accelerate KT's demise. But the Baron buff was where the game was decided. First smite. Under-leveled was Score in this scenario, so Spirit smites first. Smites at 980, which at level 13 we know is not going to be enough, and that's why Gragas stole the Baron, and from there, it's pretty much just cleanup. The taunt was what opened this up, but Marin dies. At least he's well forced out of a fight, and Marin's own demise was worth tracking, given that in the last fight that we tracked for, what, a good minute and a half, it was just kind of watching as KT ended the game.
Yeah, it was just such a cavalcade of different amazing play there. That instant QSS coming out from Deft, get himself out of the way. But that was what this series felt like.
KT rolls to win. Can't believe it.
Absolutely ridiculous. We are going to have an interview, though, with our MVP, so let's hand it over to Joel for some translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Joel with your interview translations. I am here with KT Roster, who after game one seemed like they were going to get a repeat result they had in the first game of the season, but they do pull off a 2-1 victory against Africa Freaks, and we are here with today's MVPs, Mata and Score. Congratulations on the win, guys. How do you guys feel? I think ever since we lost to that 3-0 loss against SKT in the previous finals, we really had to recover back mentally, and I think that took a long process, but I think we're starting to get back now. And I'm sure, continue on from that, the opening match for you guys must have been a heartbreaker, losing 2-0. I think, our team had a lot of expectation on ourselves, and we really didn't meet that by any distance. I think that was the biggest disappointment for us. And I think, with today's match, game one really didn't look too much different from the loss that you guys had in the MVP series, but how did you guys recover from that? Yeah, I think it was just kind of me not doing what I was supposed to do, and I think that really affected a lot of my other teammates, so I was feeling really bad for my teammates. But I think, thanks to my teammates picking it back up on game two, I'm really thankful for them. And game two was a complete turnaround for you guys. The Thresh pick, it didn't show the same thing in the game one. He really popped off with our champion. Yeah, I think Thresh is one of those picks that I've been practicing very often these days, and when I got the opportunities, especially in team fights and these skirmishes, that's kind of what I was looking for with the Thresh. And we do have a video highlight of the Thresh play by Mata. And this was pretty much the beginning of KT's roll towards the victory. Did you mean to get the hookup a little late with Score? Yeah, I had a lot of distance to work with, and I communicated with Score that I was going to hook a little bit later. And this was a fishing play from Mata. Yeah, because I knew my teammate was coming behind me, and I think that my enemy wasn't aware of that, so I tried to reel him in a little bit more. And what we want to also talk about is the jungle pick in the pick and ban phase. And right now, the Elise has been seeing the dominant force right now. And I think with the laners right now, I think it's heavily focused around the AD champions, and I think having one of those AP champions available for junglers is a good choice. Was there a reason that you banned the Elise and had to go for something else? I thought that, Elise would have been the first pick for the opposition. But I think there was a little bit of mistake on our ban pick phase. And one other news is that Mata's solo queue points have been on a big uprise recently. But what has been the motivation to your hard work? Yeah, I think, when I was more renowned as a player, I think I tried to be more flexible with my picks, trying to go all these positions, and that didn't do justice for my solo queue points, but I think I'm focusing back to my true self and really just trying to, get back to my old ways and trying to contribute to the team better. And another big surprise for you guys would have been the role swap, as we can call it, with the top and mid. Yeah, you know, I looked at the top lane and I saw the summoner name and it wasn't the one that we expected, and so that was a surprise in itself.
시종일관 약간 좀 서로 팽팽한 분위기였는데 위기 상황이 있었습니다. 바론 싸움에서 이제
And it seemed like it was going KTC, but it could have turned around immediately when the Baron, with the Baron play right here. If Afrika had gotten in, that would have been given a lot of advantage towards the Afrika side.
일단 바텀을 자르러 붙는데
Yeah, we went trying to invest on the bottom side and tried to get some kills off of it, but we saw that as soon as we got the kill, that Baron was being hit by the opposition, so it was a big rush towards the Baron.
좀 몸이 좀 많이 힘들었는데 어떻게 그냥 뭐
Yeah, I think, you know, getting up there was a struggle in itself, but, you know, somehow I got there in time and I was lucky enough to get the smite off just right.
뺏을 수 있었던 것 같아요. 뭐 하실 말씀
Do you have anything else to add to that? Yeah, I think Score, unless he's not in the finals, he's good with the smite.
또 승리를 가져갈 수가 있었는데 그 스킬하고 나서는 좀 어느 정도 승리에 대한 확신이
And I'm sure after the smite, you guys probably felt pretty good about the eventual victory. Yeah, I think as soon as we got the smite down and got the Baron steal, all our lanes were actually pushing towards the opposition, so it gave us a good opportunity to push more aggressively. Yeah, we didn't actually see the Fiora teleporting in, but we kind of saw her way later that she was coming from behind. So we had the good opportunity. We had the outnumber going our way.
첫 승을 거두셨는데 사실 쉽지 않았습니다.
So KT getting their first win of the season, it wasn't an easy win, but do you want to say anything about the the further games to come? And we did show a very disappointing performance for the opening day of the season, but we know that we want to pick it up and we know we are very capable of it. So we just continue to ask you for your support and we will do better in the future. And that seems to be the end of the interview. Back over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Joel. It's great to hear that Mata's still playing solo queue again. I know that was a long way back in the interview, but that's really stuck in my mind because Mata has been one of those players that has been a little bit lax on the practice in his own time, so really good to see him smashing it real hard.
Yeah, at his best, he had 2 accounts up there in Challenger, 1 support only, the other one Phil, and only jungle, I believe, in those days, and I think he's just been doubling down on the support, trying to really get things going.
Really smashing it out. Score saying his thank yous as well.
Fighting indeed.
Fighting indeed, Papa Smithy. But that is going to be that. KT getting their first victory of the summer season. Didn't look like it was going to happen. I personally, I'm one of the people that I've had my heart broken by KT many a time, Papa Smithy. So I wasn't ready to give them my faith for game number 2, but you were certainly there. You were saying that they could definitely turn it all around, and they did. You can see those 2 blue wins for KT Rolster. Give them that 2-1 victory here for their second set of the season.
Still improbable. Getting to review that smite once more. It was actually Score that smited early, but still got the barrel off. Spirit was never even able to smite at all.
Oh
so
my goodness.
Stolen in the most unlikely of ways, and they meet in the middle. Do Afrika Freaks and KT Rolster both at 1-1, but KT with the worst game score, having gone down 2-0 the first time of asking.
Yes, Longshu Gaming, of course, sitting there at the helm at the moment. Samsung looking to try and equal that one out by picking up an extra victory this evening if they can against the Rocks Tigers, holding the bottom. And this is so interesting, Papa Smithy. We've got SK Telecom T1 and Rocks Tigers at the bottom
standings
of the standings
after 1/2 games.
I don't care. It's too funny. It is too funny. But that is going to be our next series, Rocks Tigers versus Samsung. Samsung with the 2-0 victory over SKT. My goodness, it was dominant. We'll see whether the Rocks Tigers can stand up after, what was a very difficult one that they faced against Jin Air. In fact, Linderung, I'm surprised he's even back here, but he is.
And it's pretty polarizing, right? Beating SKT 2-0, losing to Jin Air 2-0. Big favorites for Samsung.
Yeah, they most certainly are. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have a short break before that particular series. Go and get a drink, go and make some food, something like that, and we'll be back with you in another 15 to 20.